Hey guys, Gillian Giorgio, GGinspire here, another day. Just ready to take it to another level. It's the holiday time. Today is, what is today? The 13th, Thursday, 1 o'clock. We always go live, same day, same time. Hey Lewis, thanks for joining me. Hey Jewel, I will invite a few people in right now real quick and give us a quick second and we'll get started. It's so cool because at the end of the year, so many cool things go on. I think a lot of people, have a tough time at this time of year because there's a lot of pressure on us to do certain things, be everywhere, be everyone to everything. But it's a cool time of year because people are a little nicer. Things slow down in some ways, just a little bit. People want to take advantage of the fact that the weather is a little colder. I wore my little warm hat today. But they want to take advantage of that. They want to spend more time with family, but they're also trying to reconnect and spend time with, other people that they know at work. Hey, Imelda. Hey, Leticia. Hey, Charles. Hey, Yardena. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in Romper Room. How awesome. Some of you guys are going to guess that Romper Room reference and some of you aren't. Hey, Rosina. So cool stuff going on today. Today's topic is how to have a tough conversation. And I think one of the important things to know is that we will always have tough conversations in this world. If you're dealing with people, and most jobs, careers, businesses deal with people in some way, shape, or form, you're going to have tough conversations. So we have to learn how to get better at them because, this is kind of an entrepreneur show. We always talk about taking things to the next level, going out, finding your passion, doing something that makes you happy, right? Versus just working for someone else, making them happy and them more money. But your goal is to be able to create a better life, right? Can you create a better life doing something for other people? Yes, it's possible, but more so than anything, you're going to be in a better position to create and design your life the way that you want it. If you set out, you venture off the beaten path and you go create whatever business it is that you want to be able to create and dream that dream and make it reality, okay? Hey, Juliet, thanks for coming on. Okay, so today's about just having tough conversations because in this world we have them. And so you guys all know, and I would love for you to please participate as much as possible today. Ask your questions, share this, put it out there, comment, do anything that you can because I really want to make sure that people start to realize that tough conversations are a part of life. And if we're shying away from those things, we're losing out on some of the happiness that we can have and the growth that we can have to be able to be better, to have more money, to have more time, more freedom, all these things. Those of us that shy away from these tough conversations because we either don't know what to say or we're nervous or we hope that maybe it'll go away somehow. It's hurting us and it's also hurting the people around us because we're not being honest and upfront with the people that are closest to us, friends, coworkers, family, what have you, kids. We're not being honest with them, which means they're not getting the opportunity to grow in the area that they might need to. Okay, so I'm just going to cover this. I've had some coaching moments lately that I'm really trying to improve upon myself, right? So these are things that I think are important for me to learn and me to improve upon. But I know if I have to learn it, then there's a lot of other people that will probably benefit from it as well. So please like it, please comment, please share, okay? So as an entrepreneur, it takes a lot of courage to be able to go out there and blaze your own trail and do something different, right? Out of the norm. But entrepreneurs are not all like these mastermind people that are super confident right out of the gate, that they can take on the world. Like they might grow into that. That's the goal, is to grow into it and get better, but they may not start that way. Like I was saying, we might avoid conversations or we might avoid certain things because it's uncomfortable or it's too much pain or whatever. So I think that we have to get better along the way, right? So if you're having a conversation, if you've worked with anyone or you've had any kind of interpersonal relationship in this world at all, you've had tough conversations or you felt a conflict that's come up or some disagreement or something happened and it needed to get hashed out because maybe somebody acted a certain way based on what they thought that you were saying or doing and that wasn't what you meant. So sometimes you just need to clarify some of those things. So what happens oftentimes is that if you are going and somebody who's open to having that tough conversation and direct about it, you could be labeled as mean or whatever other words that you would say about somebody who's going after and being really straight about how they feel. It's not a bad thing. It's just that in this life and in society, I think that it hasn't always been that way, right? So you could be labeled as somebody who's mean, who's worse, who's a bitch, who's this, who's that, whatever, right? But what's important is if you're a leader and you're trying to make you, your team, your business, your startup, whatever it is, if you're trying to make it better, you have to make sure that they understand that you're having a tough conversation with them because you want to improve upon what's happening in the business, in that relationship between the two of you, right? So if you're talking about a business, ultimately it's for the good of the entire business that everybody gets on the same page and they're able to communicate effectively, right? But it's not just that you care about the business, you care about them. So it's important to be able to get that across, that uncomfortable conversations are a necessity, but it's because you care about the people that you're dealing with and about the organization and how everybody can get better, right? Hey, Angie, thanks for jumping on. So you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation sometimes in order to improve the situation. Otherwise, it's just going to fester and get worse, right? So what happens is that if you're not agreeing, there's some type of misalignment, right? And alignment is a very important thing in business because in my business, in our business, what happens is if somebody is not aligned with what we're doing or what's going on, it creates, it's almost like you have a machine that's running, right? You have all the cogs and the wheels and everything's going. If something gets misaligned, it's like someone throws a wrench right in there and then something stops. And so there's a bottleneck and then there's a challenge and it becomes something that things start to back up and it becomes a problem. So misalignment with people leads to potentially, dare I say, like resentment. Okay, so misalignment can lead to resentment. So misalignment is the first key, but you have to address it, handle it, figure out how to find a solid solution, and then move on, right? So if you don't take care of the misalignment, then it's going to lead to resentment, where people are mad, and how come this, and how come that, and the situation hasn't been addressed. If you then have resentment, then it could lead, and it's still not addressed, then it could even be worse. It could lead to like sabotage or something like that. That is like really detrimental to the entire organization. So you don't want that to happen in your business. You got to address things head on, even though it might make you uncomfortable, it might make you cry, it might make them cry, but you got to be direct. You got to handle this stuff. And you need to add more to the team, right? You need to add to the point where everything gets better. Like things are going to change along the way, but you need to add and bring something to the table that improves. Okay, I want to make sure that you guys are commenting because I'm not seeing anything yet, but that's okay. All right, so everybody has their own opinions and values, and so we have to take those in, be willing to hear those, but also know that they may not see the entire picture. You know, one of the things that I like to use as an example is in sports, right? So in whether it's basketball, because in my house you're only allowed to like basketball. Actually, you're not even allowed to like basketball. It's only the Laker basketball that you're allowed to like in my house. But anyway, so if it's Lakers, if it's football, if it's basketball, if it's any team at all, right? The coach is the person that is calling in the plays and looking at what's going on the field or on the court and also off the court. So the coach oftentimes knows more of what's going on than the players because the players are focusing specifically on their task at hand, exactly what they've got to get done immediately, right? But the coach sees both. So any of you guys who have played sports, please tell me, please comment and like and tell me if you've ever played sports in your life, because most of the time what happens is every person who I know who's ever played sports, I've asked them, hey, has the coach ever called in a play that you didn't get or you didn't understand why they put that down? And they say, yeah. And I say, why did they do it? I don't know why they did it. Well, they see more of what's going on than you do. They may know more about what's going on the other side of the field, right? Or the side of the court. They may know some other things that you're not privy to. But it's really important to be in alignment with your coach and trust them because they want your best interest. They want to win the game in that experience. And in business, everybody wants to succeed. Everybody wants to make more money. So you got to listen to the coach. If the coach knows and you know personally that the coach cares about you and wants to see you improve, then they're never going to give you coaching that's going to be to your detriment. Hey, Susie, right? So you got to trust the coach. What will happen in business or in life is that you'll have personality conflicts where people disagree, whatever. People approach life from different perspectives. Like we're all different. We were raised by different parents, we're culturally different. We come from different traditions, different norms, things like that. So we have to take those things into account and be reasonable when we're dealing with other people. We have this like view that like everything that I think is the way that it should be. That's absolutely false. And so we have to start realizing that other people have a different idea of how life goes. and be mindful and sensitive to that, okay? Okay, so inappropriate, like professional behavior or things like that. So if you're in business and there's certain aspects that are considered good behavior and bad behavior in the business world, now you may have to go through those kinds of things with people because they may not know. But you know what? Don't get angry with them. Like maybe they just weren't raised in that environment and they don't realize what is appropriate behavior and what is inappropriate behavior. So address it. I always talk about, I've always been coached like the bun meat bun method. So say, hey, you're really great. You do some wonderful things. Here's what we have to fix because this is going to be a challenge for you long term, but I know that you're going to be able to do it. You're awesome. Like, let's go. Right? So if you can do it that way, the bun meat bun, the soft, and then the meat in the middle, and then for those of you guys that are vegetarians, it can be a veggie burger. It really doesn't matter. Okay? Hey, Bree. But the point is that you have to house it by love and I care. Okay? So underwhelming performance, like you can only do so much about people that are underperforming. But in your business, you have to be able to correct it and find what it is that helps them get to the next level so they can start performing at the level at which that is potential for them, that is possible for them, so it doesn't affect everybody else. Hey, Charles. Oh, so I have a question. So how do you get to a point that you fully trust the coaching? Well, you know what? You have to make sure, so here's an important point, and I appreciate your question. Thank you so much. So it's really important that you do believe that the people have your best interest at heart. So if your coach truly wants to help you and you believe that, then you can trust the coaching, that they're going to steer you in the right direction. But if you don't trust the coaching, then you have to have a conversation, a direct conversation with that coach or with that person to figure out what is my hesitance or why am I reticent to do X, Y, Z? Like, what is it about the trust? Just be honest. When we lay these things out on the table, it's something that your coaches, like they want you to succeed. They want you to win. So it's an opportunity for them and you to be able to develop a closer bond, right? At the end of the day, you are the person that's going to decide if that coaching works for you. If it doesn't work for you, then you need to be able to say, you know what, this is the type of coaching I need. I had a conversation recently that was like, look, you cannot treat everybody the same. Everybody has to be coached differently. But once you figure out how you need to be coached and you can communicate that effectively to your coach, the sky's the limit as far as what you can do. Because if you know what motivates you and you've been able to communicate that to your coach, you're going to kill it in business, right? But everybody has a different style that they work with, right? So make sure that you figure that out. But none of us have time to wait to figure out, well, nobody has years to be able to figure out what's their coaching. So it actually takes some introspection and using some of that to your advantage so that you can then figure out, how do I get to the next level quick? Because that's why you hire a coach oftentimes, or you have one at school, in sports, or whatever, in business, so that they can push you to the levels at which you wouldn't be able to reach yourself. I have a trainer simply because I want him to push me. And now he's kind of like mad because I'm not making a ton of progress right now, but I'm like, it's the holidays. He's like, stop the excuses, right? Anyway, so stay current. Like the personal growth has to happen in every capacity. Personally, I have to personally grow. The employee or the staff or the agent that you're working with in business, like those people, all of those people have to grow as well. And so when you're able to have these open dialogues, that growth can occur. But if it's closed off and you're not having those conversations, then it's a stagnation and nothing moves forward. And everybody wants to move forward. We're going into the new year, so we got to make sure that we do everything we can to keep going. Okay, so Louis, you played baseball in high school, right? So did your coach ever tell you things or put plays out there that you were like, man, they don't know? I'm sure they did, right? But that's the point. They see more than you do, right? So you got to because they can see potential landmines or pitfalls that you're going to step right in, that they saw coming a million miles away and you don't realize it. So they're trying to protect you and help you, and everybody wins when that happens, right? So if you're having a tough conversation with someone, here's a couple things that I recommend, okay? And I have seen it all over. So don't wing it, okay? Have some type of, you don't necessarily need a script, but don't wing it, meaning that like you need to take some time to, like, you have to be honest, you have to be transparent, and you have to have your ideas kind of succinct and together as far as what you want to be able to achieve out of that meeting, right? So you want to be effective, but you need to be direct, okay? So you want to be respectful. You want to do it at a time that there's nobody else around, right? So that you know, a closed meeting, so that you can actually have an honest dialogue that's just between the two of you, or maybe three, whatever the situation may be, right? But you got to put it in an environment where you can get the most result out of it so that everybody feels good, right? Get in front of a problem. So if you feel like something's going on and there's an issue that's starting to brew, handle it. Like, deal direct, handle it right away. Oh, what did you say? See, I'm sorry, I'm not wearing my glasses. I was always annoyed when the coach asked me to bunt. Well, sorry, you know what I mean? But that's what happens. Like, they see more of what's going on, and so you got to take it and run with it because they've got a broader perspective than you do, okay? So don't avoid the conversation. You got to make sure that it's handled. Like I said, misalignment leads to resentment, which leads to potential sabotage. So that could wipe out your entire business if you're not doing it right. Okay, so don't avoid the conversations. So somebody said problems don't age well. They just get worse, right? So have some type of plan, have it kind of laid out. You know, I've made some mistakes in my time where I kind of laid out every single grievance that I had and, you know, tried to go through it one by one. You know, one of my coaches said that this is really important because he said, you got to keep your emotions in check, right? You got to make sure that when you're having a conversation that maybe it's heated and maybe it's, you know, you did this or you did that. Maybe somebody's saying that to you. I feel like you did this. Now you want to try not to be accusatory, like you did this and I'm mad and you did whatever, right? If you're on the accusing side, right, you have to make sure that you're using language that is not that way, right? That it's not like you're attacking someone, right? So it's important when somebody's telling you what's going on, or if you're saying, hey, I don't like when you did this. Like at my daughter's school, I say this all the time. They do the check-in. Hey, when you say this or when you do this, it bothers me and I don't like it. And if you do it again, you know, for them, it's I'll tell the teacher, right? But the whole point is that if we could check in like adults, oh my gosh, it would make such a difference. Hey, Yvonne, thanks for wishing me happy holidays. Happy holidays to you, my dear. Thanks for getting on. One of my mentors told me long ago, look, it's when you're having any type of confrontation or discussion or having a tough conversation with people, there's a difference between being right and like exerting your rightness. Because sometimes the fact of the matter is that you're arguing about why something happened and who's right and who's not, but it really doesn't matter in the long run. That person may figure out eventually that they're not correct, but you don't have to be the one to tell them, right? Maybe they figure it out on their own. So be mindful of that. Hey, Oswaldo. So be mindful of that. So when you have your own opinions or thoughts, like just because you may see, if you're the coach and you're trying to coach one of your guys and you see that they're making a big mistake, do the best that you can to curb the mistake as much as possible. But you don't have to tell them, I'm right because, or here's all the reasons why you're wrong. Like, do it in a way that they're going to be able to figure it out. Like one of my mentors, he's incredible. His name is Michael Coleman. He does such a good job. Like when he's coaching, I may ask him a question and then he kind of asks me more questions and then I kind of figure out the answer on my own without him having to tell me. And that is like, you know, master coach. But the point is that your view of the situation is not the only one. So you have to be mindful of people's perspective along the way. Okay. Always be open, always be like, don't come in there with here's what the solution's going to be, right? Be open to the fact that it could change, right? It could definitely change along the way, and be open to the fact that there's new information, there's things that you didn't know or a perspective that you didn't see, so that when you're trying to find a solution, be open to it. But at the end of that meeting and that conversation, there should be some type of resolution, because and it's got to be clear. Like, so this is what we're going to do moving forward, right? In order to be able to prevent this from happening again, we're going to do X, Y, Z, right? Because if you went through that entire conversation, that tough conversation, and nothing happened and you didn't have a resolution at the end, well, that was just a waste, okay? So I hope that you guys can see that communication, if you're an effective communicator, you can write your own ticket in life. You can do whatever it is that you want. What I'm striving to do is to be that better communicator and teach the people that I work with how to be better communicators so that they can influence and move masses, right? Hey, how are you? Okay, so how do you handle when both parties do not agree? Well, okay, so here's the thing. Sometimes you're going to have situations where they can just not come to an agreement, but they need to deal direct and check in with each other first before they can then ask somebody else to step in. So you deal direct, you go through it, you try to hash it out and figure out a solution, right? And if you're not able to construct or create a solution between the two of you, then you need to get to the point where you ask somebody else and they step in and maybe can help arbitrate a little bit and say, okay, so you're saying this, you're saying this. Well, because sometimes you may be saying one thing and the other person is hearing differently than you're trying to portray it. So sometimes it helps to have an impartial third party, usually somebody who's higher up so that they can help, or somebody who's completely not related at all, so that they can kind of give you a little bit of, impartial feedback as far as how to be able to handle, or what I'm hearing is, so you're saying this, is that what you're hearing over here? Person A is saying this, person B is hearing this. Okay, yes, I understand that. Person B is saying this, person A is saying this. Oh no, that's not what I heard it this way. Or I don't agree with you because, whatever. The point is that at the end of the day, the conversations have to happen because you care about each other, you care about moving forward, you care about everybody getting their voices heard, and not necessarily being right or wrong, but making sure that everybody knows that they bring value to the organization. The conversation has to happen to be able to get it out so you can move forward so everybody can win. That's what we're all trying to do. But tough conversations are a part of life. I have some people when I started in business that they wouldn't have a tough conversation with me. I used to call them the uncomfortable. They wouldn't have an uncomfortable conversation with me. And what ended up happening is that I never really talked to them again because they weren't willing to have the uncomfortable conversation. So I just stopped communicating. And that is not effective. So an effective communicator can communicate with anyone, and they can figure out how to be a chameleon. Like one of my supreme mentors, his name is Jeff Levitan. He is incredible. Like when I talk to him, I feel like he's 100% listening to what I'm saying, but I know he makes everybody feel that way, and everybody's different. So if you're able to adjust and coach and help people in different ways, all the different ways that they are, you're going to be able to be massively successful, because that's ultimately what people want. Make me feel special, make me feel important, make me feel heard, and then give me some coaching based on why I'm going to win, right? And how I'm going to be able to create what I want in my life. And if you can do that, you'll be a multimillionaire. Hey, Mark, thanks for jumping on. What are some of the ways you start the conversation? For example, we need to talk. Okay, well, so we need to talk is a tough one, but because anytime you say that to like a boyfriend or a girlfriend, it's like we need to talk kind of thing. So I would say it differently. It just depends on the person. Like, hey, can we sit down for a quick minute? I want to check in with you. I want to touch base. I just wanted to make sure we could clear the air. Whatever it is that you want to say, you want to, in my opinion, I wouldn't make it sound like we need to hash some stuff out, because that doesn't make anybody feel good, right? You want to keep it light, but the conversation is going, like I said, bun meet bun. Hey, I know you do this for our organization, you do this, and you're incredible. I know you're going to win because of this. Here's the thing we need to take care of. And then, but I know this is what we're going to do because it's going to be fantastic and we can move forward. It's going to be great, right? Ultimately, you want to come out of it with a positive outcome, hug it out, whatever, and keep rolling, right? Because in business, everybody's trying to get to the next thing, the next level of productivity, the next level of income, the next client, whatever it is, right? So I would say that, keep it light if you can. If you're really angry, then it's going to be tough to do that, but do your best, right? But have an outcome. You communicate because you care about other people, right? And you care about the organization, you care about things moving forward. So, all right, anybody else have any other questions? Lewis says he needs to work on exerting his rightness. I totally agree. Like, Lewis, we have some similar personality traits. And I've got to say, I've spent a lot of years being like, no, I'm right. No, I'm right. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. And that's not a good course for solution. And it doesn't make more friends. It makes it so that you alienate people. So if we can get to the point where we accept the fact that even if we are right, who cares? You know what I mean? It's not that important, and hopefully they'll figure it out eventually. And if not, oh well. So I would just recommend, I hope that this is valuable for you guys. Oh, Jewel has one more question. In business, what are some ways you separate business from personal? You know, that's a tough one, because I work in a business where I feel like my entire life is intertwined with my business. So there isn't a lot of separation oftentimes for me. But and my husband gets on me all the time, because he's like, all your coaches say, like, you need to have a date night and you need to have separate time. You need to be able to be present in the moment. So as far as personal and business, now, are you talking about somebody that you work with and live with, something like that? If you're talking about that, then I would say that at a certain point, you need to be able to shut it off and have whatever personal relationship you have outside. You need to be able to shut off the business stuff. So some couples I've seen, or some people that work together or live together, they work on the business side and they focus on that. They still come home and do some of that, but at a certain point, they try to shut it off and be like, okay, we're gonna watch TV, or we're gonna have dinner, and we're not gonna talk about this, or whatever, you know. I mean, because talking about work could be something that you do for hours. And I know half the time my husband is like, could we just stop talking about that stuff? Let's talk about something else. And I could talk for hours about other stuff too. Clearly I could ramble on here for a half an hour, no problem. But my point is that sometimes you have to make that distinction. It's got to be something that you consciously decide to do. Otherwise, you know, if you're not thinking about it, you can do a lot more damage than good. So just make sure that you're trying to be conscious of it. Hey, Sakura, thanks for getting on without slowing on the issue. Well, you know what? The thing is that you don't hold on to that's part of the point, is like, if you have a problem that's brewing or something that's going on, don't hold on to it. Like, handle it, address it, let's figure out a solution, boom, done, right? Because then if that happens, then we're not harboring resentment for it. We're not still thinking about it. And if we are still thinking about it, then it's not quite complete and it's not quite done. So we need to get it handled, right? So that's what I would say. I hope that's helpful, you know, because stewing on the issue doesn't make anybody better. And it also, when you're stewing and brewing about, you know, something that has happened that you feel hasn't been resolved, you're not working on the things that make you productive. You're not working on things that are gonna, you know, move you forward. So does it have to be face-to-face? Usually, you know, definitely don't try and have a long conversation or argument via text message. Phone call is okay. I think that's pretty good. Face-to-face is obviously the best, but if that's not possible, then, you know, I would say a phone call at the very least. Don't do it by text message, because as far as like inflection and passion, think about when you're trying to put passion in a text message or energy in a text message, you're like all caps, but that to the other person is like you're shouting at them. So you really have to kind of be mindful of that and realize that it's very difficult, like the nuances, inflection, and language and stuff like that. It's really difficult to convey via text. So it's best to do it face-to-face. I know that's harder. I know that's more effort. But at the end of the day, like, do you want a good result, or do you want to just have the same old stuff that, you know, you're arguing with people and things, you know, fall down the wayside? Because in business, you got to have good interpersonal communication. Otherwise, you're not going to win. You're just not going to succeed. So, and I'll tell you, I'm the first person to tell you, like, when I've had arguments with people in the past, like, part of, you guys have seen it, like, even of all the time that I've been doing live, I told you some of my biggest challenges, like my reactions to things and stuff like that. So these are things that I'm working on also. But at the end of the day, we're here to show other people that you can do it too. And we all have challenges, we all have issues, but if you're working to improve them, that's the difference. And so you show somebody that you care by being willing to have that tough conversation, even though it's an inconvenience, it might make you uncomfortable, but that's how you show people that you care about them, by having that uncomfortable conversation and being honest and just straight up, just telling them the truth. Like, if they're having real challenges or they're having some real problems, like, be honest with them. They might be mad at you at the time, but I'll tell you what, they will appreciate the fact that you were honest and you were direct with them and you pushed them to get better. So I appreciate you guys. I hope that's helpful. Please share this video if you feel like maybe it's somebody that you need to have a tough conversation with. You know, share it to them, tag them in the video. You know what I mean? You're right, the truth isn't always pretty, but it's real. And so it's the end of 2018. I'm sure some of you guys haven't talked to or haven't called or followed up with some people that you didn't want to have a tough conversation with. Maybe they don't answer your call because they don't want to have the tough conversation. But maybe you need to be direct and say, you know what, before 2019 hits, we need to have a conversation. I think it would be a good idea. You don't have to say we need to talk. You could say it differently. And if you want to, run it by somebody else. Run the situation by somebody else and see if they have some different suggestions on how you might want to address it. Hey, Erica, thanks for getting on. So we're finishing up. Sorry, Erica, you get about 30 seconds of GGinspire today, but you can watch the replay. But please, share this with people. Put this out, because entrepreneurs, at the end of the day, let's all get better. Let's improve our lives. Let's have those tough conversations. Let's do it. Like, rip them off like a Band-Aid. It hurts, but at least it's over then, right? So get out there, get inspired, be able to create a better life for yourselves, you guys. This is GGinspire. Be inspired to have a great life. Take care, guys.